Welcome back and good afternoon. We're here just before lunchtime with a panel of industry manufacturers and suppliers who are going to talk us through today impact of COVID, but look into the future as well, and how businesses are recovering and managing as we come out of the restrictions. So I'm going to go to each of our panelists and ask them just to introduce themselves and give themselves a little bit of a CV lowdown, as it were. So Meryl, I'll come to you first.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me, Charlotte. My name is Meryl McLaren. I'm Director of Media Services and Facilities at Gravity Media. I'm quite new to the company. I was previously employed at BBC Studio Works, so have a sort of quite strong entertainment TV background. Now moving into Gravity, looking at more interesting sport and functions sort of outside of studios, which is great. So that's me.
Fabulous. So come to you, Nigel.
Hi everybody. I've been at Panasonic for 22 years, just about. Started my career stomping around Soho in the days of HD when everything was very heavy and made of lead. Probably one of the best times in the world of broadcast. Currently head up the broadcast sales team in the UK. That's me, and a lot of people know me.
Fabulous. And to you, Mark.
Hello, Mark Risby. I'm Managing Director at Boxer Systems. I've been Managing Director for a week now, so although I've been here for 27 years at Boxer, so I've been around a little bit too. So we're a reseller, solutions provider, working obviously the same spaces. So hopefully here we'll have a slightly different view because we cover multiple manufacturers and vendors across the space. So thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, in normal circumstances, you would all be chatting away now on your booths at the Media Production Show because we would have been open a few hours, sadly, scanning badges, etc. Coming to that first, obviously trade shows have a considerable impact on your lead generation, your marketing efforts, product launching. As an industry supplier and manufacturer, what has been the impact, I'll come to you first, Nigel, on the lack of physical face-to-face events?
I think, this industry, we're all used to being together. And I think that's been the hardest thing that we've had to adjust to. Now, I've actually been working at home since March 21st, I think it is, 2020. So it's been a long time. But we've adjusted. I think the first quarter was a bit crazy. We weren't sure, where this was going to go. We all thought it was all going to be over within 5 minutes. And then we could all crack on and do what we always do. But that was not the case. So, we closed our office in Bracknell. That was closed. Everybody was set up to work from home, from administration through HR, through sales, through directors, to everybody. Everybody went on to Microsoft Teams. And actually, we adjusted. We adjusted very quickly. And it was actually quite a successful year for us. So, I think it's been a wake-up call for everybody, and I think everybody can sort of realise that actually there's another way of doing business. But I think we're at that stage now where we just all want to get back together. But I think people will be anxious. I think they'll be a little bit paranoid about meeting people. So yeah, it's been tough.
And how have you reached customers during this time? What have you done that you didn't do before to start gathering data and finding customers in a virtual world?
We're all running sort of Microsoft Teams mainly. We find that one of the best platforms. But we've used everything. We've used Zoom, we've used Hopin, we've used phone, we've used email. We've done everything we possibly can. And, it's quite interesting to see the insides of people's houses. But do you know what? People have adjusted. Now, we deal a lot with systems integrators. You know, that's probably the lion's share of where our business comes from. And, you know, we've had to adjust our business. You know, we're, I guess, the camcorder world, which is a traditional business that the broadcast people know about. You know, that is on a very fast decline, very, very fast. And I think COVID has pushed it on a little bit more. And we were quite lucky that our strategy was already in place, because we're, you know, the global leader for PTZ manufacturing. And like I said, the first quarter, everything crashed. And we're all like, you know, what are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? You know, we don't hold stock. You know, we don't do that. You know, we're no different to a car manufacturer. We make it as people order it. So we had to set things up. You know, we had to make sure that our distribution network had stock on the shelves. We had to make sure that a select few of the channel partners that wanted to embrace PTZ wanted to put stock on the shelf. And, you know, we've seen over the last 12 months, some of the larger channel partners basically change their mindset and wanting to understand a little bit more about what we do, a little bit more about the systems integration side. And actually, we've had quite a successful year. Now, at the moment, I can't get PTZs quick enough. I really cannot. I mean, as soon as they come in, you know, they're out the door. I mean, this is, in value, is going up every day, I must say. You know,
eBay, Nige, eBay.
Yeah. But like I said, our strategy is in the right place to be able to do it, and it's been a learning curve. You know, I think we're all ready to get out of our houses. You know, I have a nice house, but I don't want to be in it now. Thanks.
Okay, great. I mean, it's great that it's been a positive year, and diversification has been important.
Yeah.
And you're lucky that you've got a product range where you've been able to capitalize on that, I guess.
Yeah.
And Meryl, from Gravity perspective, which, you know, you're not manufacturing products as such, but obviously the sports world is immense to your business. And when that went through the floor as a service provider, you know, I guess marketing stops. The focus is shifted into just managing the people, projects, properly pushing forwards and backwards. I mean, how did that affect you guys planning?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like a lot of people in the industry, there was a lot of phone calls very close together with changes to events and cancellations. So I think the first thing was everyone suddenly looking through all their contracts and looking at pandemic clauses and force majeure and kind of thinking, I feel like I'm in an episode of Black Mirror right now, where I'm kind of trying to figure out how we're going to get through the end of the world. But yeah, absolutely. One of the major things for us was looking after our people. You're right. We've got a lot of projects live all over the world. So I think a lot of it was that kind of making sure that we could still operate safely, getting the right COVID protocols in place to sort of push on. Because I think whilst in that first wave, a lot of things came to a sudden stop. I think the appetite to get back on air was so strong that I think then the demand came in almost instantly to kind of start getting people back on, start getting people out and about again. So for us, the sort of turnaround from dead stop to running as fast as ever was quite quick. So that was really you know, testimony to the team here at Gravity. They really pulled out all the stops to get us back on track. To pick up on what Nigel said, yeah, we're those people that is desperate for the kids. So that's been a major headache is that kind of lead times on equipment. Normally, you know, relying particularly on sport where you're creating a capex case, you're moving forward the project, it's sort of in such sync. To suddenly have that as an extra kind of added headache has definitely created some challenges. So a lot of that's kind of working with our key partners to make sure we're giving them the right information, making sure that we've got backup plans if we can't get kit. Moving kit around the world is more challenging than ever. So thanks to that Suez Canal thing as well. That was a real winning day. Yeah, it's all really been thrown at us in the last 12. I can't remember how long it's been going on. A long time.
And from the marketing perspective, I guess, you know, getting to a live event, a live show, is that quite low on the list at the minute, because it really is just trying to play catch up and get actual live events for broadcasters up and running?
I mean, I think actually a lot of it is I think a lot of our clients have kind of said, look, it's great to have someone that's recovered quickly and that is looking forward, you know, not focusing on the here and now. We're still very much planning ahead for, you know, future years, still looking at our strategy around technology and what we want to sort of improve on and go after. So for us, it's as important as ever, really. We also at Gravity went through a rebrand only about a year before, really. So it's been marketing's a really sort of integral part of the business, just where we get our name out again and where we're really kind of contacting people and making sure they know we're here, we're operating, and all that good stuff. So yeah, it'd be, you know, I think, I'm sure these guys would say the same. Whilst some of our business could operate remotely, a lot of our staff have been coming in as normal right the way through the pandemic, obviously with the COVID protocols we put in place. But the reality is that a lot of the jobs we needed people to do had to have, you know, a physical presence. So, and I think that's been relatively true for some of our customers as well. So yeah, it's definitely been a different experience.
For sure. And Mark, your Boxer and DigiBoxer are always very good, always at the trade shows, you know, very active in meeting and being in front of customers. You guys missed that. How have you managed that over the last year?
Yeah, we do miss trade shows. I think we are we're a friendly bunch, broadcast and post, and we're never happier than when we're leaning on a bar with a pint in our hands talking. That just seems to be the way we do things. And we like UK shows, particularly in the sense because we represent other manufacturers. If we go to an IBC or an NAB, that manufacturer, that vendor's going to have, you know, the lion's share, which is fine by us. So we would be there. But in the UK, we want to, you know, it's our yearly chance to say, hello, we're still here, you know, please come and talk to us. So that's as a sort of yearly stake in the ground to just sort of, you know, talk about ourselves for a change. It's a nice thing, and we are missing that. And I think it depends what we're trying to get out of a trade show. So for us, quite often, we've been around 30 years now. So it was our 30th anniversary last year, but it kind of got lost in the middle of the COVID thing. So, you know, we're very proud that we've been around that long, and we've reinvented ourselves over those years. And, you know, we're obviously a very different company than when we started. So again, a snapshot in saying where we are at the moment is very important. But I think where we are right now, we were already moving our business, keeping broadcast and post, which is really important to us. That's our core and that's our home ground. But we're already accessing more and more business in the enterprise space, education and other vertical markets. And we've been gradually shifting that way over the last couple of years. But certainly in the last year, we know that there's plenty more business out there in those, you know, in those sectors. In which case, what we're missing there is the new people. I very rarely now, if I'm honest, get a new lead from a new person at a UK, or in fact, quite often even at an international trade show. We typically, you know, we're a small market and we know everybody. But really what we're after, yeah, there you go. Well, this is what we're looking for from anybody who's part of our marketing ecosystem, and that's trade shows and journals, magazines, everything, trade organizations. We want to get business from people we don't know. And I think that's something we're really looking for. And we've certainly spent a lot marketing this year in other places. We're representing in AV Magazine and in AV8 and a few of those sort of publications, which we would never have been in the past. But actually, they're interested in what we're doing over on this side of the fence, and we're interested in the market that they have. So we're looking at those other markets, you know, in a large way. And to go with what Nigel was saying, you know, our PTZ camera sales went through the roof. Q1 COVID, I guess it was, we actually did very well through camera sales. Now, our live products on that side of the fence, that was sport and live events type products, guess what? You know, they didn't do quite so well. So, you know, what we were looking as people entering into survival mode, what do I need to get going? What do I need to broadcast and carry on? I think as we move forward now, we're getting back to, you know, I'd say business as usual, but it isn't. It's the new way of doing business as usual. You know, we've got to learn from all the things that have happened over the last year and take the good bit out of it. And there's a lot to learn from that.
And in terms of, obviously, you know, what would normally happen, moving away from trade shows, but trade shows always gave the technological launch R&D side of things. So you'd launch at NAB, you'd have us in the middle to hopefully showcase your prototype, and then at IBC you're shipping. You know, that's the sort of marketing
Everyone
side.
says that's not true, but that is totally true.
we all know it's true because you all tell us it's true. So thinking about how we've lost a couple of years of that, what from your perspective, are we going to see a whole raft of technologies, or have technologies been coming out and maybe we just don't know that these things have been happening?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because we've looked across all of our vendors to try and work out, you know, what the answer is to that. And we all know that trade shows of NAB and IBC particularly are two stakes in the annual ground that work exactly as you say there. And to a point, you know, in a way they're a little artificial. Often when somebody shows you a product at NAB, it ain't ready. And if that product's not ready by, you know, IBC, which happens relatively frequently as well, you see it drift over a trade show annual cycle, and then you're back in the noise again. And, you know, we've seen that happen, you know, lots of times before. I think what's happened is without those, you know, those annual events, people are now releasing products when they're ready. And you could argue that if you're trying to release your new product when 1,000 other vendors are trying to release their product, how much airtime do you actually get at a trade show? Whereas now you can direct market to your customers. You do have the ability, you know, we've set up a studio here in our office so we can do events. So we talk to our dealers, our partners, end users, whatever. We set up our own one-to-one events or one-to-a-few events so that we can do that ourselves and have focus on what it is we're doing. I'm not saying it replaces a show, because it doesn't, but it does mean that we can get people's eyes on our product exclusively for a period, and we can talk to them properly. And actually, we found some advantages of working that way. You know, we did a product launch the other week. You know, I spoke to 10 people over 2 days, gave them quite in-depth, you know, demos on the product. I could never have done that one-to-one. I could never have got to 10 broadcasters in 2 days and physically taken the kit and shown them. And we've been using all sorts. You know, I've got a little AJAU tap here, which is stapled to the deck here, which turns SDI into into USB, and it emulates a webcam. So any of our broadcast stuff, I can turn into something I can show on Zoom, you know, or Teams, or via these kind of platforms. So actually, we're able to actually show demos of relatively high quality, share screens, share the output, and have a proper conversation with people in a relatively short time frame. We're finding our customers at that point, whereas before we might go and there might be 1 or 2 people will see us. Now they might send 5 people onto the video conference because it's convenient for them. They don't have to waste a lot of time. So actually, I don't see us letting go of all these things. You know, I see that the concept of enterprises, even outside of our field, are recognizing this all of the time now. I think people are going to use video everywhere to reduce some of their travel. You know, it's eco-friendly, it's time-friendly, it's staff-friendly. People don't want to, you know, be traveling all the time, although, my God, I really would like to do some travel right now. I think more than anything else, I'd like a little can of drink on an aeroplane and just feel like I'm going somewhere and doing something. But, you know, I think for a lot of people, some of those trips now will be replaced. I think we've jumped over into a new world.
And Meryl, from your perspective, where you're dealing with suppliers like maybe Mark and Nigel, do you think, Nigel, do you want some? Yeah, you want a relationship? Yeah, okay.
No.
I feel like it's
Talking about relationships, friendly relationships, working relationships. Do you think they've vastly improved because now people are more accessible? As Mark was saying, you know, you can have 10 people on a call and maybe only 2 people might go to an exhibition. have you found that your relationships with suppliers have improved, and the conversations might be more genuine and honest because you've got to know each other a bit better? As Nigel's saying, you see inside someone's front room, you know, it's an expanded conversation. Have you found better quality relationships with suppliers?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good, like, that certainly has helped with having multiple people able to engage with suppliers directly. But I think coming into a new business and having to meet a whole host of new people entirely remotely was really challenging. So I think, like Mark's right, nothing's going to replace that face-to-face on a regular basis. And I think but for specific products, for specific demos, or on specific projects, it absolutely has a place, because it does just mean that you can get more people in a room super easily. I think the pandemic's made us kind of realize that all these interesting new kit launches and innovations, you know, suddenly the practical purpose of them really came into sharp focus. You know, I think suddenly everyone kind of really had a sprint to think, how are we going to work around this? You know, we looked to the supply. Oh, sorry, my phone's ringing. There we go. We really looked to our suppliers to kind of say, you know, we're not just looking for a sexier picture quality. We need this to work in this way, in this new environment. So so having those relationships was incredible, and all of our suppliers really stepped it up. So we're super grateful to that. If they could just refill their bloody shelves a bit quicker with kit.
That's a real big.
Ringing you with PTZ.
That's a real big problem at the minute. I know that this is not necessarily COVID related, but although it partly is, a lot of us are experiencing supply chain issues right now because of components issues, and it's across the board. And you know, it started off being related. Certainly, when I know when COVID 1.0 kicked off, we had a bunch of PTZ cameras sitting on a production line in Wuhan, you know, and the factories closed. We knew they were there, but we just couldn't get access to them. Now we're finding we've got production line issues because there aren't enough processors or PCBs or even metal in some cases available. So we've had a year long of peaks and troughs of equipment availability. That's genuinely a problem in some cases.
And Nigel, what can you add to that?
Well, the supply thing. I mean, you know, we had to obviously everyone had to deal with COVID. That was one thing. But you know, when we got to November, December last year, there was a massive fire in a semiconductor factory. And you know, some people know about it, some people don't. But what it did was wiped out pretty much every semiconductor for every camcorder globally, plus a selection of PTZs. So that didn't help. Now, with the growth of the electric car, hybrid car, the demand for LCD screens is being sucked up by the motor industry. So that also is affecting camcorders and things like that, because what a lot of people don't realize is that these components, whether they're made for camcorders or they're made for the car industry, are actually coming from the same manufacturers. So the way that we're getting around this now is we deal direct with a handful of people, you know, with systems integrators and rental companies and people like that. But there are a lot of people that we don't necessarily deal direct with, people like Google, people like Facebook, etc. But what we do is we build a non-sales direct relationship with many, many corporate companies so that we know when they're going to need their kit. So for Merrill, with Gravity, we would, I mean, obviously you're a direct customer of ours, but we would come in, we would sit down with you and say, right, where do you need to be in 3 months and 6 months' time? You know, let's work this out, because as I said, we're no different to a car manufacturer. We make this stuff as it comes along, and at the moment, they can't make it quick enough. So our supply chain is improving quite a lot, because we've sort of done this stock management thing really with the direct customers, and we are getting there now. But the problem is that at the top ends, we have a select few PTZs like the UE150 and UE100s, and they are the sort of go-to product for rental companies. And certainly with the Olympics coming up, that's also sucking up a lot of the stock that's out there. So, you know, what we ask really is for those people that have that requirement, even if they don't deal direct with us, come and build a relationship with us, because we can try and reduce that nightmare for you, because you can choose whatever you want to use, but if you can't get it, of course, you can't achieve what you want to do. And what we have a tendency to do is, once that relationship's built, and once we're now talking about the numbers that you need to make your company grow, and you can then look after your customers, we're feeding that information into the factory. There's absolutely no commitment for anybody. But what we're doing is we're letting the factory know today what you want in 6 months' time.
And you've moved into, you're talking about your, you know, and we've talked about this as well, that traditionally you've been talking to sort of the production end of TV, and now you're looking in the sort of more in the SI AV side of things. Have you had to build relationships, new relationships over Zoom in the last year, that you've not even met customers in the physical form yet?
Yeah, we have. We've got some really good customers that I've never met. I've just looked at them on the screen, and you know, we've had to change, and Panasonic is very good at change. You know, we've all gone through many things, including earthquakes, including floods, and all sorts of stuff. Technology being created that you know, people, they don't buy it. And we have a rule that, you know, we will only ever make kit that people want, and if they don't want it, it will disappear. It's quite simple. So yeah, we do. We have relationships now with people that I've never met. We've reorganised. You know, we've started a company called now Media Entertainment Business Division, where we've merged the broadcast or Pro AV side into our visual side, which is our projectors and screens. And what brings all of that lot together is a product called Kairos. So we had to launch Kairos during COVID. And the first time that we really showed Kairos in its, I guess, in its all its glory was at ISE. And ISE was the last trade show that I went to. I think I had one trip to Germany after that, and then that was it. We were in lockdown. And Kairos, we've done everything virtually. You know, we've had to launch it, and it's a video processing platform, very much like Photoshop. So you can bring in lots of layers, and we can bring in any video format. You can stick cameras in, video feeds, and you can basically feed any screen or projector or whatever you want. So we've merged the whole thing together and come up with a sort of glass-to-glass solution, if you like. But we've been able to launch Kairos using these platforms, using Teams and Zoom and everything else, and being able to ship the kit direct to the customer, and then get on another virtual call to talk them through it and educate and train and all that sort of stuff. And actually, it's becoming very, very successful now. So, you know, but what we need, of course, is COVID to go and do one so that the live can come back, and then we can start enjoying face-to-face people and also the live event. But we need, as much as Gravity do, we need the live event, because that is going to bring us all back together again and start to get our businesses booming, which is what we all want.
So, Mark, Panasonic have launched Kairos in lockdown. What have you been up to? Apart from sunbathing in your garden. There you go.
I'm possibly the whitest person in the world, and I take about 3 weeks to even start going normal before I burn. So sunbathing is the one thing I have. We've been busy the whole time. I think one of the things for us is that we represent a wide range of people. So, for example, the software, the transcode we do via Telestream, the Vantage platform, that's been powering the video on demand and VOD platforms in general, catch-up platforms this whole time. And I think one of the things we can say as an industry that we should be proud of is that we help keep bums on sofas. You know, through COVID, you know, without Netflix, without the iPlayer, without ITV player, and all of those wonderful things, there have been more people walking around, the streets. And we kept those lights on. We kept live sport going where we could. We kept live entertainment, as well as, quite a lot of other dramas and things going the whole time. And lots of companies, all of us here were involved in that. So I think for one point, there was a certain amount of business as usual that never stopped. And we certainly never stopped. We had our support team working the whole time. In there, we've had lots of other bits, coming and going in terms of products. We've had, as I say, some products that just came from nowhere. Telestream brought a product out called Glim, which was designed to help people access their content in the cloud when they were working from home. So a literal product that came out of nowhere to address a need that people had. So especially in post and broadcast, everyone went home, but your web browser at home couldn't handle playing back that weird MXF or IMX or whatever it was format that your company operates in. So this product allowed you to attach a server to where that media was and give you a playback that you could frame accurately view from home. So we've had things like that. Things like NewTek brought out the TriCaster 2 Elite, and that was a tool that was a vision mixer, a studio in a box kind of product, but also accepted Zoom and Teams as an input. If you gave it a Zoom grid of 9 people, it would use AI to extract those as 9 sources and bring them back to the system that could be used by anybody. And that way you could vision mix and make a team or a Zoom's call look like a normal production and make it better. And one of the things we found is that we can use traditional TV production to make things. It doesn't have to look rubbish just because it's coming over a conference platform. We can do a lot to it. And we're seeing that move into the enterprise world, where we're talking to those people about making what they do look more televisual. Because if you're not going to have a sales conference this year, so you're not going to send 500 people to a hotel in Florida to learn the message, you want to produce your presentation to make 500 people at home keep watching. What you don't want to do is see people going off to do the washing or the gardening when they should be watching your presentation, and you want them to listen. And do you know what? Telly's done that for a long time. We're good at live. We're good at spreading information. News and documentaries, sport are all live things that keep bums on seats, keep people watching. So I think what we're seeing is now teaching that message to the enterprise world to say, if you want people to look at what you're doing, divert a bit of your budget. You can probably build a 4K TV studio for the price of your bar bill at some events, and then work on the content that goes on it. Put a decent camera in, put some lighting in, give your CEO some media lessons. So when they're talking, they're actually looking at the camera, those kind of things. So it ups, the level of your professionalism and the quality of your content, because content is everything. So what we've been doing, I guess, is while telly's been quiet in some areas, we've found an audience that just wants to listen in the enterprise world and is now making changes and is doing things. And that will be a big part of our market, because we've got, in the broadcast and post, we've got stuff that they want.
I'm going to ask a question now, starting with Meryl, that actually was on my list and has come from the audience as well. And it says, are there some practices, and I think you covered a little bit of this, Mark, which I think will be interesting to explore more. Are there some practices you've been forced to adopt over COVID, which you plan to embrace when we return to normal? And conversely, what are you desperate to go back to doing, which you currently can't? So Meryl, from your perspective, just talking to Nigel and Mark there, what I guess you've had time to review as a business, the services that you offer. Is there anything that you've changed there, and then thought, God, this would be a brilliant idea, and brought that in instead? But
for everyone, I guess remote working has the genie's out the bottle. I mean, certainly people want to work more flexibly. I think it's kicked on the conversation a little bit in terms of remote working, editing at home, being way more flexible about where people are. I don't think that works for everyone. I think there's always going to be a need to kind of be creative in one space. I don't think that'll go anywhere, but I think having a hybrid solution where it's a little bit more a mixture of in-person and remote that's happening, and that's, I think, definitely going to be something that all of us, continue to work in that way going forward, really. So that's the biggest one for us, just flexibility.
Great. Nigel?
Well, very much the same. I mean, we will continue on with the remote connection. We will still do that, but we will also, start arranging these one-to-one meetings and getting back together. I think, we're all talking about trade shows. We want to do trade shows, but I still think people have been on edge about getting a lot of people together. I think, we've all had a wake-up call about, we get one go at what we do. And, we have to play safe when we're doing that. So, I think we've done a lot of things. I think the things that we will question is, do I really need to get on that plane? Do I need to get in the car? And working from home, is probably one of the safest places you can be, rather than driving, 180 miles every day. But it's a lonely world working at home. It is. Although you're talking to people like we are, it's still lonely, and you still need that interaction. And I think, we're part of the human race, and we like to be together. And I think there's a lot of things that we've not been able to take part in, where, we've still been able to achieve and do the thing that we want to do, but you still miss that close interaction. It's just, that's what we are. That's what we do.
And Mark, finally to you.
Yeah, I'll say two things. Firstly, we can no longer say another event like this was unprecedented. So now we've seen this happen. We're designing a bypass. We're designing fixes for if this ever happened again. We want to make sure we will be prepared. And that's just now part of what we have to do. And the spin-off of that, as Meryl was saying there, is that the remote working cat is out of the bag. And it actually works out that a lot of these things can be the same thing if you do it right. So, being ready. And I think I covered some of these things off earlier on. So maybe I'll add something slightly different there. Then another thing is that we've certainly taken a long, hard look at the mental health of people that we work with. We've introduced employee wellness programs. We've looked at mental health as a much tighter part of general health, and making sure it's Mental Health Week, Mental Health Awareness Week this week. But we've made sure that we have mental health advisors available for our team. It's not easy working from home. We're not out of it yet. A lot of people are anxious. A lot of people have family things going on. So I think, we're very much part of making sure that people are looked after in the round. We're a family here. People are really important to us. So we want to make sure that everything's on tap to help people look after themselves and come back, in a way that suits us all. So I think, that's been a focus that was always there in the background, but now we've made it very much, front and center of what we do as well.
Absolutely, and that's come up a couple of times this morning, that especially if your teams or your staff, live in a shared house or in a flat on their own, with no accessible green space, that they've struggled more than most with families and gardens and kids and stuff. And I think every company should be putting mental health to the top of their agenda over the coming year, because as you say, it's not over, we're not out of it. And actually, I think I heard yesterday that the mental health pandemic, as if you want to call it that, is going to hit in 2030. They think it's going to be the biggest sort of illness that we have in the world. But I don't want to end on a depressing note, obviously. We want to I just want to very quickly get out from all three of you. What are you looking forward to from the industry? 21st of June, we can all come together. Meryl, what are you looking forward to most? You've got a big summer of sport coming up. That must be really exciting.
Yeah, you've nailed it in one. I think amazing summer of sport, getting audiences back into venues, getting that excitement around those events back again. I think it's tune in. It's going to be great.
Nigel, apart from our annual lunch, what are you looking forward to?
The annual lunch? No. No, it's just to see everybody enjoying their job again. I think that's important, enjoying the most amazing industry that we work in. And, putting some of those plans that we put into action during COVID, and watching them sort of pay back, really, and just get close to our customers, because they're going to be busy. These live event guys are going to be so busy, and we just want to be there to try and make their life a little bit easier, if you like, because ultimately, you know, without us, they're stuck. So we have to try and find a way of making it easier when they put their plans together.
Brilliant. And Mark, finally?
I want to share a drink with my customers. A lot of us go back a long way. A lot of us are friends as well. And there's so much gets done socially. We're a social group, and I really miss just that being with people to talk. And I, from a personal point of view, I'm missing live music and festivals and all of the things that go around that. And that's linked in what we do. I get a real buzz off everything we do that's live. So I think as all of these things come back together, it becomes a social thing. It becomes a human thing again. And we had a few people in the office the other day for a socially distanced proper meet, you know, that in ways of helping people return. And just the buzz of hearing people laughing again and the teams interacting. I'm really looking forward to having our teams back in, you know, and seeing our colleagues again face to face more often, because yeah, Zoom's, you know, great, Teams is great, but there's nothing like, you know, the nuances that you get by looking at each other and sharing a crap joke. So maybe that's it, live stuff and crap jokes. That's what I'm looking forward to.
We can all start hugging on Monday, can't we? Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We can all have a hug, Nigel. We can all have a hug.
I apologise now to everybody in the industry.
Well, I think what we need to do is come up with a date, book the Crown and Two Chairmen in Soho, and just all meet there and just hug, Nigel, and drink.
It'll be a hug parlour.
That sounds brilliant. That sounds like the perfect way to end the summer.
Well, thank you very much, all three of you, for joining me today. I'm really pleased to hear that you've all managed to get through it. Actually, business is doing really well. Lots of things, quality things have come out of it. Lots more now to get on with. Nigel, you need to deliver these PTZs to these poor people. But thank you very much. And I can't wait to see you on the show floor and in the pub in the very near future. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much,
Charlotte.
Thank you.